I'm back. We had this conversation last night. Let's not do it again. We get it. Everybody needs a tagline, don't they? Anyways, let's just roll this cool ad. I know it's not that cool, but at least no one's here to see it, right? Be right back. Okay, sorry. I'm a little delayed because I actually took the time to text someone and be like, hey, you're great. I love you. You're such a good friend. Because that's just how I am, you know. If I think something, I'm going to tell someone what's on my mind. Like, I just am like that. I think that's why streaming is so perfect for me, is because I really don't and never have given a fuck when anybody thinks. To the point of detriment, perhaps, because I'm like, I don't give a fuck about your stupid blah, blah, blah. Yikes, to a degree, but at the same time, just me, I suppose. So it's all good. It's all good. What's up, everyone? Just chilling. Good, good, good. I'm doing goth makeup for Nico's birthday. Oh yeah, that's what's up. So, it's Nico's birthday. If you don't know who Nico is, Nico was born Christa Gaffin in Germany, 1938. On this day, October 16th. Can imagine that, yes, okay, it is as bad as it sounds. She was not necessarily a Nazi, but the whole thing was like her father went to war and never came home, but no one ever told her what happened to him. So that made life complicated for a young Krista Gaffin, to say the least. It was assumed he died in war, but no one followed up. So once again, just hard to say. Um, there was a lot to unpack there, and I don't know that she necessarily unpacked it. Um, while Nico is almost single handedly responsible for modern goth music, which, yes, we will get into, she's also like the patron saint of sexual assault and groomed girls. Like, I don't know how to explain that because of her legacy. It's not that it made it all okay at all. It was just like she walked the walk and talked the talk and did everything they said while also doing everything her way. And then in the end ended up dying before she turned 50. So it's like she's like the anti-hero, anti-femme, okay? And like her life was literally so interesting, even if okay, there may have been some Nazi upbringing. It's wild to think about, but she was literally born at the beginning of the war and grew up those formative years of like birth to 7. I think the war ended in September of 1945. She didn't turn 7 until October, right? Um, Not that I would defend a Nazi, but I don't. She wasn't really a Nazi. She just had some like critical ways of thinking necessarily, as she would put it. So there were far and few between incidents throughout her life, and albeit drug induced, which isn't an excuse. Like, don't get fucked up if you're gonna act that way. But at the same time, people make mistakes. There was nothing really too overtly terrible. There was a weirdly unaccounted for witness to her using racial slurs in the lobby of a hotel at one point, and her making a joke to her Jewish friend about hating Jewish people but not him. But that was kind of how people were in Germany at the time that she left, if that makes sense, because she left Germany when she was like 13, 14, 15, 16. People were not as reformed about the war in Germany until like more modern times, like the 70s is when Germany was like, we have to just accept that we're the villains. That's when there was a big renaissance in Germany. I don't know if this is part of the channel message, because I'm definitely not the one. I would have no idea when that happened. So I think this is part of the message that early. I've been spending days with Nico. I've been thinking about her all week. I get so excited because last year it meant so much to me and I learned so much about her. I did a whole deep dive, and that's why a lot of stuff that I know about her life I looked up myself, like before or after. I think it was before and after talking to her. I watched a movie and it was like a lot of it was true, so I started reading about her life to verify it, and then channeled her, and then started another documentary about her. Like I did a deep dive. Nico was a little bit of a special interest to me last time this time last year. Okay. So yeah, I don't know anything about the Renaissance of Berlin. I guess that happened in the 70s. I don't know where I got the information from. I most likely just made it up, or Nico is saying something about that. I wanted to just talk about our actual life and some of the stuff with Above Underground and the timeline of things in this video, and then do the channeled message in the tarot category, because I'm just doing my makeup anyway, so I feel like I'm getting all over the place, but Nico's honestly getting overzealous ahead of herself in a way. Okay, so goth night. What are we doing? I know that's right. It's goth night. Yeah, so Nico is the goth queen. Okay, so she grew up in World War II Germany with a single mom, basically. Her dad pretty much fucked off or got killed or escaped with all the other Nazis. Like, there was really no telling. And she didn't know where, I mean, it's not that she doesn't know who he is, but never uttered a word about him. So he could have been some real sick fuck for all we know. And that would definitely fuck you up, especially because at a young age, when your parent probably doesn't want to tell the child, like, hey, your dad's like a Nazi doctor or something, where it's like, okay, just like root for daddy, hope he comes home. That's very disillusioning. I can imagine children of war have a very skewed perception of what the fuck is going on, right? Indoctrinated since birth. So she was not like a practicing Nazi. She never joined the KKK. Obviously, she was rolling around with like drugged out white kids in New York City. She could give a fuck less about politics or the war or anything, but there was some things that were instilled in her from a young age, and that she was always kind of naive to. And the more fucked up she got, the worse her thoughts became on certain subjects because of these like childhood wounds. Once again, trying to wait for the actual stream to do the channeled message, but she always has so much to say that she's getting a head start. So she was like probably 13 when she had to get a job. She probably needed one before, but it wasn't. I mean, I think she was like, she learned how to. No, I think she got a job when she was like 9. Yeah, because the war hit hard, Germany was thriving and then they weren't. So once again, they were all pissed off and devastated that they were taking a hit in that war, rather than they were glad it was over like the rest of the world. So it was a lot of complicated feelings back then, and she never really dealt with that. She never saw a fucking therapist. Like, what the fuck? She did heroin. Like, I mean, she's basically like, I know I'm responsible and accountable for that, but please don't hold it against me. I never dealt with my issues, right? Like, she makes that clear every time I talk to her. That she never wanted to make anything about race, but it was always about race with them at that time. So she just, she left Germany the way it was. She didn't see its revolution. She didn't see its renaissance. So she's like 9 years old. She gets a job, or she's at home working with her mom, being a seamstress. So she learns how to sew, and she taught herself because she got a job in a factory when she was like 12, 13, and she was sewing lingerie. So she taught herself how to design lingerie, and then she would stand outside the shop wearing this lingerie at like the age 13, 14 years old, standing outside a lingerie shop modeling the lingerie she sewed and designed. And of course, it drew just a whole slew of people in, right? Like you can imagine. But she was very beautiful. So, like, not everyone had horrible intentions, but she was, I mean, she was groomed from the start. She was a naive girl with a single mom in war torn Germany. And she was just trying to sell lingerie. That's why she was modeling it. She wasn't trying to be a model. She just needed to sell this for her family, like literally. And creepy men would come by and try to buy her instead, right? And it was I believe the photographer. No, maybe that's not. I think he no, I think he the guy who signed her, basically, who got her into modeling. Can't remember his name. He met her doing this. She was like 13, 14, and he was like, "Yo, I want to fly you to Paris for Fashion Week. You've got the look, baby, you know." And she pretty much, her mom was like, fuck yeah, if it's gonna make her money, go for it. Like, do you, sweetie? And he said, okay, Krista Gaffin, you need a better name. I once loved a man in Italy named Nico, so we're gonna call you Nico from now on. First of all, I don't care if he was gay. That's creepy as fuck to name a child after your ex-lover. Like, what? And I think that's why in her later years she went by Krista Gaffin, but she understands her whole career was Nico, and she would never ask anyone to not call her that. But in her life, she did go by Krista Gaffin in the later years because she was like, fuck, dude. Um, there's just no way, right? Like, there's no way. She just was triggered by the whole thing, probably, but didn't realize it because she was just doing dope as fuck. Just heroin aplenty. Very highly illegally, smuggling. It was a crazy life. She was living a crazy life in the 80s, okay? So she was like, I'm Krista! But she would still perform as Nico. You just couldn't address her as such. And now she doesn't care as much. She understands the importance of Nico, and she understands the importance of the art behind it, no matter how it started. But creepy, right? Creepy. So, She got her modeling career going when she was like 15, 16 years old. She was in Paris. She was wanted, whatever. She did a bunch of runway shows. Nothing super suspicious seemed to have happened. But then, there's just like weird stuff. She claims that she was assaulted by a black man when she was like 13 or 14. And I don't know if somebody actually did that, and it's like no victim shaming, but there's a lot of speculation around it, and it had something to do with the military. And so it was like, okay, is this like delusional child Nazi of war crime, whatever, wartime delusionment, or did somebody try to cover something up? And that's where some of her hatred was stemming from. Very questionable. Charges were never officially made, or they were dropped, but like a bullying situation dealing with the U.S. military, it led to a lot of, or maybe German military, I guess. I don't know where it happened. Could have been France. Either way, it was a lot. But there was a lot of speculation on whether or not that happened. But this was, she was at an age where she was so young. She was not brain rotted, and no one believed her. But then it's like, okay, are you just trying to frame someone because you don't like them? It was all very questionable. So that was tough. But things got worse and better from there. So she, having been a model throughout Europe, in her teen years, and once she turned kind of like 18 is when she went to New York. I want to say there was like a reason. I think there was a director that wanted to work with her. It was not Andy Warhol. Like by Andy Warhol didn't meet her until much later in her career, which is ironic because all anybody knows about her or Andy Warhol is that era, and it was like not that long, and nobody even knows who Nico was before that. But the whole industry knew who Nico was before that. She was like very, very famous in Europe, in the fashion world, in the modeling world. And she started acting when she was like 17 to 19, somewhere in there she started acting. And then by the time she was 22 or 23, she kind of started to explore music and worked with, like, I want to say she actually did do something with Jim Morrison, or it was Jimmy Page. Somebody said maybe it was Jimmy Page, because she is on a Jimmy Page album, but I think that was made later. I don't know. It's like Jimmy Page and Friends or something, like, and Nico came up like just today. I heard it, so it was probably that she was working with Jimmy Page, because she was just like an actress at the time, and she retired from acting at like 27. So she had like a 10-year acting career. She was in like 20 plus movies. Plus, she was a model, a runway model, and then started exploring music in her like early to mid 20s. And she already knew Jim Morrison. She was getting referred by Jimmy Page. Like, she made her name, okay, in the shit. People knew who she was in the industry. And someone suggested to Lou Reed, who was struggling a bit more. This was still, what, 1967? Velvet Underground didn't release Loaded until 1970, if that tells you anything, right? Or maybe that was 73. Either way, most of their good shit was the 70s. Not most of their good shit, but they got a lot better in the 70s, right? Like, I Found a Reason. Okay, so Velvet Underground was hurting a little bit back in like 66, 67, and it was either Jim Morrison or Jimmy Page. It was some Jim or another. Basically told them, you should work with Nico. So, like, Nico was 30 years old when she featured on the Velvet Underground and Nico. And she had been in multiple artist industries around the world since she was 13, 14 years old. So people who kind of associate Nico's career with the Velvet Underground are not only just like so funny, but completely misinformed. The Velvet Underground's career surrounds and evolves around Nico. Like, even though they only worked on that one album, it's their most iconic album for a reason. And the thing that people remember is Nico, whether or not they look into what she did before or after that, because then she released a ton of albums after that. The Marble Index, hence how we get to Goth Night. The Marble Index it had to be like 1970 also, maybe even later than that. But that is regarded in like music history as pretty much the first goth album. There was not, maybe it was earlier than 1970, because when did Bauhaus come out? She was releasing music before them. That's what I'm saying. Like, she was the original, and the only person who even made a goth, or yeah, Bauhaus didn't form until 1978, and the Marble Index, I'm pretty sure was 1970. 1968, dude, it was the same fucking year. The same year that the Velvet Underground and Nico came out, she released her first album that she made entirely by herself. Is it good? Questionable. It's really weird. But it's like the first piece of gothic art in music traced to that time. Because the only other real goth references before that was Jumpin' Jay Hawkins made a goth song by making Put a Spell on You. That is regarded as the beginning of goth music in music. And there was stuff like the Monster Mash. But like, Bauhaus, one of the earliest goth bands in goth music history, formed in 1978, and Nico released the Marble Index in 1968. So she was the goddess of goth. Like, she was on the punk scene, the art punk scene with the Velvet Underground, and it said, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing. And her thing was depressing, and it was emotional, it was brooding, it was tough, because she was a fucking war-torn German kid at the end of the day who was now addicted to drugs. So on that note, let's take our 20-minute ad break, and then I'll keep working on my goth makeup. And I'm sorry that I get very passionate about this subject. BRB. Okay, so like, where did we leave off? That Nico completely made Lou Reed's career what it is today. Like, yeah, pretty much. Nico was the shit. If the Velvet Underground never had Nico, and for some reason everyone is under the impression that if Nico didn't have the Velvet Underground, then no one would know who she was. Please. The whole art world knew who she was. The whole fashion world knew who she was. She would have been the next Twiggy if she didn't go down the route of music. But even still, she made all her own music. And all her albums after the Marvel Index are pretty fucking good. I don't remember what it's called, but the one with the horse on it, holy shit. And then the one with the pink writing, you know, the Marble Index was okay. And nobody's first album has to be perfect. She did it by herself, and that's what inspired me to do this. By myself, just fuck it. I had one person help me with 2 songs. Cool. 2 people helped me with 3 songs, but one of them was 2 years old. It doesn't count. So I did it myself. I did it my way. Did whatever. Like I just felt like instead of trying to take instructions from a goddamn man, that's how Nico was doing it. She was just like, "Fuck it, I'll learn a lot as I go. I'm just gonna make it sound horrible." Cool, love it. And it's the first fucking goth album pretty much ever. Name one. Name one. Okay, that came before then. So, um, it was such an iconic era, but really that was a couple years of their lives, you know, and that's all anybody remembers about either one of them, really, you know. And yeah, it's so funny because I feel like Lou Reed was on his twin flame journey, and he finally came into union with his twin flame, and then died like shortly after they got married. I think they were like him and Laurie Anderson. It was his third wife, and her first. Like I don't think she was like Laurie Anderson was never married, and then they got together and they were together. I think 5 years, and then were married 5 years, and then he died. He died like 10 years after they got together, and or maybe it was 10 years after they got married. I don't remember, something like that. Where it was like, yeah, they were met in late in life, but it was a cute era for him, and nobody gives that part of his self justice. They made music together. It was like, and he was a feature on a Killer song, the Gorillas. Like he was relevant way past that point, also. But once again, they're so tied to each other, and they did have a vibe. They did get along great. They were genuine friends. I think nothing genuinely ever happened between the two of them because they both had too much going on with other people, essentially. And Lou was faithful to his wives. He just would divorce them if he wanted to do something. He was like a mess in between, but he was faithful to his wives. At least emotionally, she says. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, Pisces men, we get it. Okay. So it was just like a different time in so many regards, but that is a big factor of why people just never let it go, never let either one of them move on from that. That's all anybody really ever cares about for either one of their careers was that album. And you have to be a pretty big fan to even keep going for either one. And I'm a fan of both, and I love their careers so much. Both of them make great music. I love Nico. Um, oh, I'm on tarot. I was supposed to be on the chat this whole time because first of all, it's misleading, and I put the thing. Nico. Oh, it was probably after my commercial break that I went back to tarot, right? Whatever. Y'all know what it is. Okay. Say love like you know what it is. Okay. You are beautiful and you are alone. I love her, you know. She's just incredible. Incredible, incredible. And does not get the credit she deserves at all, as most women, especially in rock and roll, fucking don't. You know? You know? Like, what are you gonna do? Nothing really. Nothing to do. Fuck these dudes. You know? Jim Morrison was like everybody's favorite. He died at 27, so it's just like everybody kind of lost hope after that. Yeah, sounds like it. Cannot imagine. So much different than John Lennon, you know. But it was a good fucking album. That's the thing. I'm like, sounds like I'm bitching, but it was truly iconic. Like the whole thing, incredible. Totally. Like, name a better album. Probably couldn't. I'm kidding. Maybe could, but like, Could you? I mean, the Velvet Underground and Nico? Fuck, dude. Fucking hate Andy Warhol, though. I think they all kind of hate Andy Warhol. Pretty sure Andy Warhol introduced them, but... Oh, is that... No, because, right. Like, I think Nico met Andy through Jim, and Velvet Underground knew Andy through heroin, I think. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. And then they met through Andy, I think, inevitably. Something like that. But goddamn, yeah, Nico was a genius, a queen, a vision. Just totally robbed of her youth, of her beauty, of her credibility, her talent. Just going along with whatever these men said. Yeah, right. She was punk till the day she died. I love her. It's not that I want to overlook the racism. We've addressed it to hell and back, right? And it was less about making excuses and more about admitting that she avoided a lot of that trauma and never worked through those issues and got fucked up instead. That's why you end up dead at 50, you know? Instead of learning your lessons, you just, right? She gets that. Not trying to be absolved. She's actually, by bringing it up at all, just once again, taking accountability. Something in life she couldn't do for anything, even her own son, right? She lost custody of Ari when he was like 4 years old, and then almost lost him to her drug addiction because they did drugs together at a point. And oh yeah, I mean, her whole life was pretty dark, pretty grim. That's the thing. After the Velvet Underground experience, it's not that any of them were directly abusive, but the whole industry was truly male dominated, and she literally did not want to fuck with them anymore, anybody. And wanted to just do her own thing and be her own person, not be told what she needs to look like or wear. And that's why she stopped dyeing her hair. She was no longer going to be blonde, and she wanted to go by Krista, and she wanted to make cool goth music. And it was very well received in Europe because they followed her career because she was from Germany. Like, they, you know, if it weren't for her European fans, she would have never been cemented in music the way she is, because they did appreciate the goth. Like, that was ahead of its time, and they supported her no matter what because, you know, where she came from. And the fact that she was punk enough to go play illegal shows in countries she wasn't supposed to be in, it was like ballsy as fuck. She didn't just hang out in New York and tour the U.S. She came home, basically, you know. A completely revolutionary act on so many fronts. And all anybody remembers is the Beatles maybe snuck in the USSR. Please. There is a bootleg footage of an illegal concert in Prague from 1985. You can watch it on YouTube. Nico was that bitch. Like, none of them are shit. Just kidding. They're all still talented musicians. But Nico was the essence. Nico walked the walk. And she was like half lucid the whole time because she was so fucked up on heroin and stuff. And that's part of what made her not give a fuck, was being on drugs. But Nico was a bad bitch as fuck. Yeah. I love her. I can't help it. I just love her so much. She's like, I want to be ugly. It's like, okay, go off, queen. Be your ugliest self, I guess. Can't relate, but maybe someday I'll remember this and be like, now I get it. Hey, how should I go? I wish I knew more words to more of her songs. She makes fun of me sometimes because she'll be like, hand me down, shot. And I'm like, huh? Shot? It's like, oh my god, how do you not know the words to this song? You listen to it like 600 times a week by now. I don't know. For some reason, this looks more saturated than the other one. New mascara, more mascara. Should I stay or should I go? There we go. Yeah, okay. Cool. Some black lipstick. Send us off. How do I not know the words to like literally all of the songs that I literally listen to so much? It's embarrassing. But I could recite the whole S Club 7 album, 2 S Club 7 albums if it was on right now. But I like actively listen to Nico and can't remember any of the goddamn words. She probably couldn't remember a lot of them either. So she's like, meh, not a big deal. Don't you make shit up anyway? Yeah, I kind of do. Stay or should I go? My goodness, there it is. Sorry, my makeup bag is atrocious, but I'm okay with it. Someday maybe I'll upgrade. For now, I'll work with what I got, as always. Should I stay or should I go? And in my direction. Literally. How do I not know? No idea. Kind of ridiculous. Cool. Boom. Baby. Love that. My hair looks so crazy big, like a Leo right now, like a literal lion between the headphones and the sweatshirt and the fact that I washed it today. Wild. Okay. I wish there was more goth, but I don't have that much stuff that I'm working with. And I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Outfit reveal for the reading, which will happen anywhere between 20 minutes and 2 hours from now. Kind of have no idea. Not great at scheduling. I'm really good at planning. Not great at scheduling. Don't like it that much, to be honest. Hate schedules. Hate times. Ugh, I just do it. Let's just do it when we can. Scheduling just bleh. So come on, I'll be back when I feel like the time is right. But Nico's been waiting all effing day, so I'll see if she's trying to smoke a cig, whatever, or she's gonna let me get out of that because she knows I quit. Might be back in a second, but I'm gonna go. And I'm gonna roll out with hella ads. So thanks for being here. I hope you learned something new about Nico and the Velvet Underground while I did my goth makeup. Please tune in for, you know, the reading part and the channeled message with our dearest birthday girl. Okay, so I'll be right back with some Halloween Oracle. Happy birthday, Nico, and thanks for tuning in.